Hey guys, welcome back to the Fight Prescriptions. Dr. Whitmore here. I wanted to give an update on my knee injury, as well as actually give an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite exercises that I do. It's to staple one of my big five. So we're 6 days out of knee injury right now. So if you didn't see the first video, I explained it there, but basically my initial diagnosis was an LCL sprain. Sometimes diagnoses can change as symptoms can change and manifest themselves in different ways as time goes, but I'd still hold true. I'm still really tender to touch over that LCL. The knee kind of feels unstable. But I've also noticed the bottom part of my lateral quad, so like your quadricep muscle, the big muscles in front of the thigh, the outside portion of that on the side of the LCL. Down at the very bottom, there's a piece of meat there that's gotten real tender as well. So whether that was injured in the initial injury, or that's a compensatory effect that has happened. So that's pretty hot too. And I've noticed that anything that eccentrically loads my quads, like going downstairs or lowering myself into a squat, like if I'm sitting down, is just brutal. So I gotta use that old up with the good, down with the bad thing that we learn in PT school for like total knees. I'm 100% pain free if I do that, but so those big things are still a problem. I've almost lost my limp. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm pretty excited. I'm again, not even a week out, and I'm seeing some good progress. So still no discoloration or bad swelling, so I don't think anything's ruptured or anything. But now I'm just itching to kind of get back on the mats, get my life back, and start training hard. So the game plan to this point has been resting the quad and promoting some healing and some anti-inflammatory effects. I'm doing a lot of self-massage, doing a little bit of foam rolling. And when I was doing that, what I found was I was palpating or touching the back of my leg and noticed that my hamstring, as it crosses my knee, is real squishy. Okay, so in healthcare, we call that inhibition or actually starting to become atrophy, where the muscle actually shrinks a little bit. It's not really shrunk yet, but it doesn't feel real supple. It's not hard like the other side. So what's happening there is a response to traumatic injury. The body disrupts the nerve signals, and it could be swelling or just some connection between the mind and the injuries to help protect you. That thing is really starting to shut off. So I needed to start working with some activation exercises. So I've been doing some kind of cookie cutter rehab exercises to avoiding loading the quad, doing some knee bends and stuff in the pool. But I wanted to start doing, again, one of my big five exercises that I think every single combat athlete should do, which is seated banded hamstring curls. So most of my training, I'd say 70% at least, would be closed chain type of exercises versus open chain. So open chain would be your feet and your hands are free to move, versus closed chain would be your feet and your hands are secured on the surface and the rest of your body's moving. So think push-ups, pull-ups, dips, squats, lunges, cleans. That's all closed chain stuff. And I think the strength and conditioning community and the rehab world would favor that the majority of our training probably should be closed chain, but there is a place for open chain. And I find that maybe the biggest bang for my buck, I'd put seated banded hamstring curls and the reverse hyper. Man, that'd probably be my number one and number two as far as open chain. And both of those make my top five of exercises I think every combat athlete should do. I'll probably do a video of that at some point, but there's a little sneak peek. So some extra pearls for this video. So I'm gonna show you what I was starting doing. So the idea was that I noticed that I just said it, my hamstring started to get a little squishy and weak. So I need to start working on that. So I'm out here in the garage, and I got these bands. And with my right, see, I sit down, I put my heel in it, and I'm far enough on the box or the seat so that it's trying to pull me straight, so there's some resistance at extension. And then I just crush that band, so I bend my knee and try to get the knee past 90, get a good squeeze it there. So this is the blue heavy band, and it's really no problem. With my right, I do sets of 30, get 4 or 5 sets of that. No problem at all. I went to go do it with my left, and it didn't budge. I was like, oh my gosh, just in 6 days, I can barely move that band. So I'm actually doing like this little sissy purple band that I have, and it's plenty. So here I am with the purple band. Same principle, I kind of put on my left, slide back so I can get some good bend, and then I just crush that band. And that feels about as hard as the blue does on the other side, okay? A couple of things to note on that. One, 100% pain-free. So my hamstring really isn't injured, it's just shutting off in response to the injury. So if it was painful, I wouldn't do it. And I'm working a full range of motion, so I'm actively trying to maintain motion, because we know as things get inflamed, start to swell up inside, you start to lose range of motion. So right now I haven't lost any range of motion at all, but now it's time to kind of this phase 2. So I went through this protection phase. If I had to restore mobility, I would be working on that aggressively now, but I have full range of motion, so I'm going to start some light activation activities, pain-free. But this seated banded hamstring curl is money. And I'm saying that when I first started doing these, I actually saw Louis Simmons doing these in a video at Westside, and about 4 or 5 weeks into doing them, I noticed my run times going down significantly. I was training for a race at that time, and that was the only thing that I added in there, and it made a significant difference in my run times. Now, what I also started noticing was for you grappers, my triangle pressure started to increase exponentially. I was able to really crush my triangles. I really didn't need to pull the head down at all. I was just finishing people with just my legs. And then in wrestling, a lot of times the guy gets on a sweep single or something, trying to extend your leg out. I was noticing that I could bend my knee much more effectively, so it really improved my takedown defense. I could probably think through dozens of other functional applications for open chain knee flexion, or the ability to be strong to bend your knee. But I'm a firm believer in that movement, and we should be training that movement. So I'd say get started, guys. I use these Series Steel bands because they're on Amazon on sale. I really like them. And in the past, I've used Rock Tape. That's a solid brand too. But there's probably some other manufacturers out there. But get yourself some bands. They're multi-use. I can use them for mobility. I use them for shoulder exercises. But my number one, these seated banded hamstring curls. So, all right, let's get after it, guys. Fight Prescription. Over and out.